start today, and it is self. Today, I see myself as beautiful, so beautiful, so beautiful. Today, I see myself as beautiful, for I see with the eyes of God. Today, I see myself as wonderful, so wonderful, so wonderful. Today, I see myself as wonderful, for I see with the eyes of God. Today, I see myself as innocent, so innocent, so innocent. Today, I see myself as innocent, for I see with the eyes of God. Today, I see myself as glorious, so glorious, so glorious. Today, I see myself as glorious, for I see with the eyes of God. Today, I see myself as powerful, so powerful, so powerful. Today, I see myself as powerful, for I see with the eyes of God. Perfect introductory song. Thank you. How do you see yourselves? Good morning. I'm Jill Loving. I'm a licensed teacher. I used to be spiritual said, but be here again on a Sunday. Yay! Good. And it's a new year. Okay, opening. It is I who must begin. Once I begin, once I try here and now, right where I am, not excusing myself by saying things would be easier elsewhere, without grand speeches and ostentatious gestures, but all the more persistently live in harmony with the voice of being as I understand it within itself. As soon as I begin that, I suddenly discover, to my surprise, that I am neither the only one, nor the first, nor the most important one who have set out upon that road. Whether all is really lost or not depends entirely on whether or not I am lost. That's by Václav Havel, whoever he might be. This little book of life prayers I find so useful. My kind of prayers. Announcements. Announcements, yes? Yes. Happy New Year! Let's make it a better one. Well, we have some interesting speakers coming to join us this month and next month, so join us every Sunday wherever you. As you know, lots of families coping with COVID-19 are short of food. So if you have anything you can donate to the food bank, bring it into the office. Jackie is there Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, 10:30 to 12:30. And while you're there, you can pick up your script, drop off your tithe or your prayer requests. And the only way we are communicating is through email. So if you're not getting anything, we don't know where you are. So let us know your email or your address or your telephone number, and then we'll be in touch with you. Okie dokie. Church is, address is here. Here we go. 2467 Veneman Avenue. And the zip code for Modesto is 9556. And the telephone number is 209-578-4533. All on the website. So, announcement. Daily word for today. Yes, I am able. Yes, I can. Growing up, I received encouragement from my family, school teachers, and other adults in my life. Their positive, affirming words helped lead me to pursue my passions and trust my gifts so I might realize my potential. Now that I'm older, I turn to the divine within me to discern how I might best fulfill my potential. I prayerfully ask what possibilities remain to be realized in my life. That's the one I underlined this morning when I prayerfully ask what possibilities remain realized. What ignites my passion for self-expression? I receive inspiration from the time I spend in prayer. As I pray, any lingering thoughts of doubt or insecurity are replaced with renewed energy and enthusiasm. Nothing can stop me stepping out boldly into the world to fill my Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through him who strengthens. Watch out. Stepping out in power. Our affirmation for this month. Our prayer box for this. Okay. My mind is steady. Hang on a minute. My mind is. Wait. My turn first, please. Oh. My mind is steady, unwavering in spiritual strength. Now together. My mind is steady, unwavering in spiritual strength. Got a kind of theme going here, haven't we? Okay, we have the prayer box. It's at the back with the lid open so that you don't have to touch it to open it, although I think probably nobody's touched it much anyway, so it'll be perfectly fine. There are little prayer slips for you to fill in. Pop that in. And then those are collated and sent off to the prayer team. And we pray over those prayers, affirming your affirmation for a month. And then they're sent on to Unity, Silent Unity, where they're prayed on for another month. So they get a really healthy dose. And as we know, Unity is founded on prayer, and prayer is the most important power we all have at our fingertips. So hold in your hearts all those thoughts and concerns and achievements that are required, and know that they will all be fulfilled. And so it is. No, should be the meditation next. Gonna have some music and then meditation. No. I didn't say after the lesson. I just said the white stone was the meditation. That's okay. You're allowed to. Unconfused, can't we, Nancy? You might have a little hunt going. Okay, but first we're going to have to.
Deep within my body moves the spirit, the presence of the Master for my soul. Voice of truth within, now can't you hear it? 'Tis life that I may be forever whole. Spirit is the answer to each question that is burning in my soul. Spirit is pure wisdom, so I listen, and I am guided safely to my home. Spirit's way is peaceful, so I follow. With spirit leading on, not come astray. Spirit leads me to my soul's fulfillment. I trust in Spirit's guidance every day. I trust in Spirit's guidance every day.
So keep yourself well relaxed into that chair and feel the floor. Put away anything in your hands that disturb, distract. And likewise, anything in your mind. Tuck it away at the back, it'll still be there if you need. Last week, we participated in a sacred ceremony of clearing out thoughts and habits that no longer served us. And that action brings us to our white stone ceremony. This time of year where one ends and another begins is a special time, and many of us are open to let go of the old and look forward to the new. It's a time of endings and beginning. You may recall that the ceremony is inspired by a quote from the book of Revelations, chapter 2, verse 17. Consider these thoughts. Let anyone who has an ear listen. Everyone who conquers, I will give some of the hidden manna, and I will give a white stone, and on the white stone is written a new name that no one knows except the one who receives it. As you can hear, this passage refers to a couple of actions and promises. The first activity is listening, also known as meditation. The ear to hear is not necessarily an outer ear, the ear of the soul, the ear that hears the still, small. Develop this inner ear listening quality by getting out of our intellect and into our hearts through meditation. It's a tool to help us quiet our busy minds and listen to the divine voice of wisdom. So we open our minds and hearts to a deep, intuitive. The next activity or promise is to surrender. The passage says, to everyone who conquers. The conquering is not an outer war, but an inner one. To everyone who takes the time to listen to the still small voice, to everyone who practices release and affirms inner spiritual quality, realize it requires surrendering personal will, divine will. The paradox is that in surrender of the ego self comes a birthing of the essential self. The third promise is, I will give some of the hidden manna. I will give the white stone, and on the white stone is written a new name that no one knows except the one who. The days of wandering in the wilderness with Moses, the manna was sent by God to people. They only had to go and collect it each day. They didn't have to do anything to earn it. And if they tried to save it, it spoiled, except on the seventh day. And they found that the day before's was perfectly fine and they had plenty. When we are in the wilderness of our spiritual searching, we receive hidden, not visible to us. We're given a spiritual energy and nourishment that sustains us. It's grace. Nourishes the soul and the body, and it benefits the whole being. In the Bible, we read of many name changes. Saul, personal will, was struck to his knees. Blind for 3 days, he had to look. Given a new name, time of his awakening. Saul was transformed to Paul, which lightened will. A symbol of human will that surrenders to divine will. That surrender claimed divine power. Abram, as he grew in spiritual awareness, became Abraham, adding the breath of God to his. Sarai became Sarah. Jacob was renamed Israel. Simon was. So when we awaken to inner spirit, we can take on a new identity, a new name, so to speak. This refers to the greater realization of the I am, the awareness of our divine self. In the passage we're told, I will give a white stone, and on the white stone is written that no one knows, one who receives it. So I invite you to meditate on what you're being called to be in the new year, and claim that as your new name. So hold your white stone in your hands, and as you hold it, open your mind to hearing your new name. It may come to you during the silence, or it may not. Don't worry, it will come to you. It may come to you as a blinding flash. It may come to you as a quiet insistence. So in the silence, ask yourself these questions. Who am I? Or what am I called to be this coming year? Take a deep breath and bring it back to this time. Give yourselves a little wriggle. Remember, you hold that name for yourself. Share it with anybody else. They don't know what you're into. And we'll move on to our talk. How much I saved you. Okay, today's talk, what's in a name? What indeed? What's in a name that we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet? Poor Juliet is not allowed to associate with Romeo because she's a Montague. He's a Montague. If he had any other name, it would be fine. She's complaining that his name is meaningless. If the rose had any other name, it would still be the same, and so with Romeo. He would still be the same beautiful young man, even if he had a different name. What's in a name? Juliet knows that the blood feud prevents her from loving a Montague, and she ponders it. It's only your name that's the enemy. You are what you are, even though you may be a Montague. What's a Montague? It isn't a hand or a foot or an arm or a face or any other part belonging to a man. Oh, I wish you had a different name. What's so special about a name? Well, let's find out. The power of a name and its value has long been immortalized in prose, poetry, and religious ceremony. Everyone recognizes him or herself by a name. The question is, how does a name influence a person's character? What's in it? Very often, the first piece of information we ever have about a person is their name. It's often the first thing you learn about someone. And you know we form judgments really, really quickly. And those judgments accumulate. So that first piece of information is especially important. It can lean you in a positive direction or a negative direction. And those first impressions can set the stage for future interactions. They say at an interview process, the first 3 or 10 seconds, the panel or the individual has made up their mind about whether they're going to appoint you. And I went to all that trouble to prepare this. Just bear that in mind, especially if you're doing the interviewing. Try not to jump to a conclusion too soon. And I found this bit of interesting research or whatever on the internet. Who knows if it's true or not, but it's interesting. Imagine that 2 people are starting work at a law firm on the same day. One person has a very simple name and the other person has a very complex name. They've got pretty good evidence that the person, over the course of the next 16 years of their career, the person with the simpler name will rise up the legal hierarchy more quickly. They will attain partnership more quickly in the middle parts of their career. And by about the 8th or 9th year after graduating from law school, the people with simple names are about 7 to 10% more likely to be made partners. That's a striking effect. They tried to eliminate all sorts of alternative explanations, especially the one about foreignness, because obviously foreign names tend to be harder to pronounce because we're not used to them. So they looked at just white males with Anglo-American names, so really the true in-group, and you find that among those white males, the Anglo names that are more likely to rise up the ladder happen to be simpler. So simplicity is one key feature in names that determines various outcomes. So it's not just dogs that like to have 1 or 2 syllables to their names. I think I'm inheriting a dog called Hercules, which is like, oh, Hercules! So we might have to change his name. Another factor that we identify very strongly with our names and are an important part of the baggage that we associate with ourselves, and it reflects on us. So there's a very famous effect, an old effect, cognitive psychology known as the cocktail party effect. If you're in a room with loads and loads of people, and there's a lot of hubbub around, someone will mention your name the other side of the room and you will hear it. It'll come up, it will rise above the din, and somehow you will hear that name despite the noise in the room. And that's because your name means so much to you. And it catches our attention in a way that nothing else does. Another interesting implication, it claims, is that we tend to like the letters in our name, especially the first letters. We like our initials more than we like the other letters. You know that? I didn't know that. Of all the letters in the English alphabet, can you pick your first 6 letters? The writer says, I would certainly circle A first because I'm Adam Alter. And this has a robust effect across hundreds of countries, thousands of people, no matter what the alphabet. And you find that people are 50% more likely to circle letters from their own name if they're asked to choose 6. One of the implications is this, is it's been shown that people are more likely to give hurricane aid causes to hurricanes whose name shares their initial. Now, remember, I don't know if this is true, but it's very interesting, isn't it? So, after Hurricane Katrina, people named Kim or Ken were much more likely to give money than anybody else. After Hurricane Mitch, it's true for Michaels and Marys, and this has a pretty powerful effect. So since 1950, the National Weather Service decided that it's better for us to have names for hurricanes rather than referring to them by longitude and latitude once upon a time. It's a bit sad now they've had to resort to going to the Greek alphabet, so Greeks must be pouring money into the hurricane. This guy claims he did a fairly simple calculation on the back of a napkin, and he found that over the course of the last 12 years, he took all the major hurricanes that came through the Atlantic basin and looked at how much aid it attracted. We'd named our hurricanes optimally, according to the way people are named in the US. They could have got about $700 to $750 million. Take that with a pinch, okay? What's in a name? How does changing your name upon marriage affect your identity? The majority of women take their husband's surname and shift from Miss to Mrs. But this may have more than just practical consequences. There's a magical quality in names. To change the name is to change the character, wrote Graham Greene in his autobiography Ways of Escape. It's not obligatory to change your name, but most women do. Different reasons are given, such as to honour tradition, as a romantic gesture, or to avoid confusion over children's names. In countries such as America, where it's usual for the wife to take on her husband's name, children are given the father's surname, so the mother's surname is not used by any of her descendants. This system has been criticised on many grounds, because it can be seen as the husband having control and possession over his wife and children. The American suffragette Lucy Jones refused to be known by her husband's name, and in 1921 founded the Lucy Stone League. The League made a national issue of this practice as part of an effort for women's rights. Its motto is, "My name is the symbol for my identity and must not be lost." But women who keep their own surname after marriage do so for a number of motives apart from feminism. Some simply prefer their own surname to that of their husband. Other women want to avoid the time-consuming process of approaching every contact who uses the old name and asking them. Some retain their own surname under particular circumstances and use their husband's surname in others. This is particularly common among professional couples. Alternatives include hyphenating the husband's name or using the maiden name, the middle name. Occasionally, the husband takes the wife's name, or the husband and wife choose an entirely different name. However, these options can be confusing for strangers, and even wanting to be referred to as Ms. can be a challenge, because despite its widespread use in some professions, the word still carries feminist overtones. Final decision will ideally be one that's comfortable for the partner, but it's usually a more pressing dilemma for the by what name shall she be known? Our name is closely linked to our identity. The appraisal of ourself made by ourself and others. Change of name is a rite of passage. The new name represents the person we want to become. Of course, the impact of a name change on each woman's identity will depend on her character. The new status represented by Mrs. will have different meanings for everyone. More traditional for some women and more modern for others. Anecdotal evidence suggests that women experience an identity crisis from undergoing a surname change. I had a friend who was a teacher and she married a gentleman by the wonderful name of Higginbottom. I would not have taken that name. I have a niece who has married a Nicholas Pratt, decided to stay being Mrs. Smith. So would I. So I think it's right to think about whose name you take on. Can you imagine going into a classroom and having, this is how they used to do it apparently, because they both had the same problem. They'd go into the first day, right, Higginbottom in great big letters across. Okay, can we just get this over and done with now, people? Yes, my name is Higginbottom. You can all have a good laugh and then we're done. Good. That's the way to do it. Either way, in our society, we are still known by our first name, those closest to us. So perhaps the effect mainly concerns our relationship with the world. Clearly, there's more to a name than meets the eye. A quick glance at some online forums dedicated to the subject shows that this is still a hot topic, with emotions running high and women agonizing the decision. I've had 3 names so far. Got a bit of wriggle room. First, I was Jill Pickford. Now, I have always liked my name. I'm one of those strange people who absolutely loves their name. Wouldn't change it for anything in the world. I am just Jill. I don't know how my parents chose it. They just said we just wanted a simple name. Okay? There's no other Jills in the family. So I'm just Jill. First one. After that, there was Robert. To Robert's great chagrin, he was named after my mother's favourite doll. Thank you, Mother. Michael, I'm not quite sure where Michael came from. He was another one out of the blue. Robert and Michael. Oh, Monica, I named Monica. I used to listen to a programme on the radio And there was this little ongoing joke, which of course I didn't get because I was only about 7. She was born. This is harmonica, ha ha ha, play on words, okay? And I thought, oh, Monica, that's a nice name. Sorry, Monica, that's how you got your name. Jill Robert Michael Helen. I don't know where Helen came from. Her other name, Sophia, was my grandma. Second names tend to be related to the family. David, no other Davids in the family. And Abigail, my father's joy. My dad chose that name. That's the only one I know my dad chose. Abigail. So that's my brothers and sisters. I was part of a huge family. My paternal grandpa and his twin brother managed to marry sisters. And so they were all called Pickford. And they were all over the place. There was dozens of them. My dad was one of 7. The other side, I think there was 4, if not 5. And then they were all Catholics, so they all had big families. So there was, everywhere you turned, you found a Pickford of some sort or another. I remember in school, the teachers would say, I know you're a Pickford, but I don't know which one. And I'm thinking, well, sometimes I don't either. And then I got married and I became Jill Jagger. That's a nice alliterative name. I thought, that's good. And I thought it was a lovely name until every time I went through passport control. Oh, are you any relation to Mick? No. And when you're jet lagged, I remember coming back one day, I couldn't even understand what they were saying. And I'm thinking, oh God, I've heard this joke so many times. It became my professional name. I was Mrs. Jagger. So I kept that even after I was divorced. And now I'm Mrs. Loving. Well, that's an excellent name for a wannabe minister, don't you think? I think people should be queuing up to be married by me. But there you go, they're not. But it has its downside. There's no more being snippy on the phone with those poor little souls in those call centres. Because they will say, really, Mrs. Loving? I think, oh. And there's no getting snippy with the checkout lady either, because she looks at your credit card and thinks, Mrs. Loving. So you have to take a deep breath if you're called Loving, and remember that's a name to live up to. So, what's in a name? Well, we're going to finish with a song that tells you just exactly what's involved in a name. Take it away, Craig. Surprise.
You can blame Jill for this.
All my fault.
Well, my dad left home when I was 3. He didn't leave much for Ma and me, except this old guitar and an empty bottle of booze. Now, I don't blame him because he run and hid, but the meanest thing that he ever did was before he left, he went and named me Sue. He must have thought that was quite a joke, and it got a lot of laughs from a lot of folks. Seems I had to fight my whole life through. Some gal would giggle and I'd turn red, and some guy'd laugh and I'd bust his head. I tell you, life ain't easy for a boy named Sue. Well, I grew up quick and I grew up mean. My fists got hard and my wits got keen. Roamed from Rome to town to hide my shame. But I made me a vow to the moon and stars I'd search the honky-tonks and bars and kill that man who gave me that awful name. Well, it was Gatlinburg in mid-July, and I'd just hit town and my throat was dry. Thought I'd stop and lap myself a brew. At an old saloon on the street of mud, there sat at a table dealing stud that dirty, mangy dog that named me Sue. Well, I knew that snake was my own sweet dad from a worn-out picture that my mother had. I knew that scar on his cheek and his evil eye. He was big and bent and gray and old, and I looked at him, my blood ran cold, and I said, "My name is Sue. How do you do? Now you gonna die." Well, I hit him hard right between the eyes, and he went down, but to my surprise, came up with a knife and cut off a piece of my ear. Then I busted a chair right across his teeth, and we crashed through the wall and into the street, kicking and gouging in the mud and the blood and the beer. Well, I tell you, I've fought tougher men, but I really can't remember when. He kicked like a mule and he bit like a crocodile. I heard him laugh, and then I heard him cuss, and he reached for his gun. I pulled mine first. He stood there looking at me, and I saw him smile. And he said, "Son, this world is rough, and if a man's going to make it, he's got to be tough." And I knew I wouldn't be there to get you along. So I gave you that name, and I said goodbye. I knew you'd have to get tough or die, and it's that name that helped to make you strong. He said, "Now you just fought one hell of a fight, and I know you hate me and you got the right to kill me now, and I wouldn't blame you if you do. But you ought to thank me before I die for the gravel in your gut and the spit in your eye, 'cause I'm the dirty, mangy dog that named you Sue." Yeah, what could I do? I got all choked up and I threw down my gun. I called him my pa and he called me his son, and I came away with a different point of view. And I think about him every now and then, every time I try and every time I win. And if I ever have a son, I think I'll name him Bill or George or anything but Stu. I hate that name.
Thank you, Craig, for stepping up and being Sue. So think carefully before you call yourself a name or call anybody else a name. Okay, let's take our offering hands. Fine, because it's Sunday of the month and good. Ways. Say our offering prayer. Is divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am grateful.
Now we're going to close with the peace song and follow that with the
that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Yay, God! We can do birthdays. Don't go away. You forgot birthdays, you're right. Any birthdays here for January? Marilyn? Yay! You get to play happy birthday for yourself, Marilyn.